I liked it, but I really never thought I could make a living at it. And I thought it was sort of a silly thing to be.
Few actors command the respect that Meryl Streep does. With more than 4 decades of celebrated performances, she's become a symbol of craft, range, and integrity. But beyond the Oscars and accolades lies something even more revealing: her deep love for film itself. Streep has never been shy about praising the movies that shaped her view of acting, storytelling, and humanity. From intense dramas to irreverent comedies, her favorites reveal what she values most: honesty, imagination, and emotional truth.
Arguably the most covered up person in the history of clothes.
In this video, we count down the 6 films Meryl Streep openly calls her favorites. You'll notice they're not necessarily the biggest or flashiest titles, but rather the ones that touched her heart or changed the way she saw performance. Some are intimate character studies, others are uproarious ensembles about community and creativity. Together, they form a portrait of an artist who still approaches cinema with awe and curiosity. So let's start from the top, with a gritty psychological masterpiece that not only inspired Meryl's career, but helped define modern American acting itself. Number 6, Taxi Driver, 1976.
Listen, you fuckers, you screwheads. Here is a man who would not take it anymore, who would not.
When Meryl Streep first saw Taxi Driver, she was still a student at the Yale School of Drama. Sitting in that dark theater, she watched Robert De Niro inhabit the lonely, rage-filled cabbie Travis Bickle, and something inside her clicked. Years later at the Golden Globes, she confessed, "When I was in drama school, I idolized Robert De Niro. After I saw Taxi Driver, I said to myself, that's the kind of actor I want to be when I grow up." It's easy to see why. Scorsese's 1976 film isn't just a story about a man spiraling into madness. It's an immersive character study that transformed acting on screen. De Niro's performance is built on small internalized choices: the downcast eyes, the quiet muttering, the controlled bursts of violence. And that attention to psychological detail became the model for an entire generation of actors, including Streep herself. The film follows Travis, a Vietnam War veteran plagued by insomnia and alienation, who takes a night job driving a taxi through New York City's decaying streets. Surrounded by pimps, junkies, and loneliness, he dreams of purging the city's filth. His awkward attempt at romance with campaign worker Betsy collapses after he takes her to a porn theater on their first date. Humiliated and isolated, Travis channels his frustration into violent fantasy. He buys guns, trains obsessively, and plots to assassinate a political candidate, until fate steers him toward a different kind of crusade, rescuing 12-year-old prostitute Iris, played by Jodie Foster, from her pimp. The climactic shootout is one of the most haunting in film history. Bloody, chaotic, yet strangely redemptive. Travis survives, and the media hails him as a hero. But Scorsese ends on a question mark. Has Travis found peace, or is he still lost in delusion?
What? Can I talk to you for a second?
Bye, killer.
For Streep, Taxi Driver represented more than a landmark of 1970s cinema. It embodied a shift toward realism, actors digging into their characters' emotional truth rather than performing them. Watching De Niro disappear into Travis Bickle convinced her that film acting could be as deep and transformative as the stage work she'd trained for. It also marked the beginning of her professional relationship with De Niro. 2 years later, she co-starred with him in The Deer Hunter, forging one of Hollywood's most respected collaborations. To this day, Streep cites Taxi Driver as the performance that lit the path she would follow. It showed her that art isn't about perfection or glamour, it's about honesty. Do you see Travis Bickle as a tragic hero, an anti-hero, or a warning about obsession? And how has De Niro's raw performance shaped your own view of what great acting looks like? Number 5. This is Spinal Tap, 1984.
Age look of the band, fashioned after the signs of the Zodiac.
We needed a new presentation.
This is a look for Viv. He's a Libra. There's the sort of the yin.
After the gritty intensity of Taxi Driver, Meryl Streep's next favorite might surprise you: a mockumentary about a bumbling heavy metal band. Yet for Streep, humor is as vital to storytelling as tragedy. When asked about her go-to comfort movies, she smiled and said, anything by Christopher Guest, Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, or A Mighty Wind. They're all my favorites. For her, This Is Spinal Tap isn't just a comedy. It's a masterclass in commitment. Every actor treats absurdity with absolute seriousness, creating a world that feels as real as it is ridiculous. That kind of acting discipline, staying truthful even in the most outlandish circumstances, is something Streep has always admired. Rob Reiner's 1984 film follows British metal band Spinal Tap on a disastrous US tour to promote their latest album, Smell the Glove. Documentary filmmaker Marty DeBurgi, played by Reiner himself, captures the band's downward spiral through interviews and concert footage. We meet the eternally optimistic yet oblivious guitarist Nigel Tufnell, Christopher Guest, the pompous lead singer David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean, and bassist Derek Smalls, Harry Shearer.
Best production value we've ever had on stage.
But we haven't got the equipment. We
Not
haven't
yet,
got
we
Stone
don't.
Age.
Let's start
We haven't got...
Please, just a moment.
At first, everything seems typical of a 1980s rock act, screaming fans, smoke machines, and oversized egos. But as the film unfolds, chaos replaces glamour. Stage props malfunction, drummers die in increasingly ridiculous accidents, he spontaneously combusted, and the band's confidence collapses when their album cover is censored for sexism. The group hits rock bottom, quite literally, when they unveil an embarrassingly small Stonehenge monument on stage because of a measurement mix-up. Behind the laughter, the movie nails the fragile vanity of show business. Streep loves that Spinal Tap achieves its comedy through truthful improvisation. The actors had only a loose outline, building scenes on spontaneous dialogue, an approach Streep herself has used in films like Adaptation and It's Complicated. The result feels alive, unpredictable, and human. What also fascinates her is how the movie balances parody and empathy. These musicians may be ridiculous, but we recognize their yearning to be seen and remembered, something every artist, no matter how accomplished, can relate to. The band's famous line, "These go to 11," has become shorthand for obsessive ambition, always wanting to push things just one notch louder, one step further. For Streep, Spinal Tap mirrors the artistic process itself, half inspired, half chaotic, constantly flirting with failure. It reminds her, and all performers, not to take themselves too seriously. Beneath the wigs and amps lies a poignant truth about the human desire for recognition, the fragility of ego, and the comedy of perseverance. Even decades later, the film remains endlessly quotable and strangely comforting. As Streep once joked, when you've been in this business long enough, you either laugh at the absurdity of it or go mad. Spinal Tap ensures she keeps laughing. Have you ever laughed so hard at a movie that it still lives rent-free in your head? And if you could choose a rockumentary about your own life, would it be more Spinal Tap chaos or something more serious? Number 4. A Mighty Wind, 2003.
What is it now, Lieutenant Beeman? Have you not asked us enough questions?
If This Is Spinal Tap showed Meryl Streep the hilarious side of failure, A Mighty Wind reminded her how comedy and tenderness can coexist. She has said more than once that anything by Christopher Guest sits near the top of her favorites list, and that A Mighty Wind, with its bittersweet heart, is one she returns to often. As she told the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, film fans have probably seen it, but to regular audiences, anything by Chris Guest. So my favorite movie is Waiting for Guffman, or Best in Show, or A Mighty Wind, or Spinal Tap. Released in 2003, A Mighty Wind is a mockumentary about a memorial concert for fictional folk music producer Irving Steinblum. His adult children gather 3 of their father's beloved 1960s folk acts for one last performance: the earnest folksmen, the squeaky clean New Main Street singers, and the estranged lovers, Mitch and Mickey. As the performers reunite, egos clash, memories resurface, and old flames flicker, all under the gentle gaze of director Christopher Guest, who lets absurdity unfold through pure improvisation.
Dustin,
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, Meryl Streep, you've been nominated for 17 Academy Awards.
For Streep, A Mighty Wind captures something rare, a comedy that never mocks its characters. Yes, it's funny to watch the folksmen debate which somber ballad should open their set, or to see the new Main Street singers deliver smiles so forced they could crack, but underneath the satire lies affection. These are people defined by music, by the urge to keep singing even when the world has moved on. That sincerity is what touches Streep most. It reminds her of the theater troupes and early stage companies where passion mattered more than fame. The emotional core of the film belongs to Mitch and Mickey, played by Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. Once romantically entwined folk idols, they now live separate, broken lives. When they reunite to rehearse their signature song, A Kiss at the End of the Rainbow, their awkward smiles melt into genuine emotion. Streep has spoken about moments like this, and when performance and reality blur, as the purest expression of acting. She admires how Levy and O'Hara can shift from parody to heartbreak in a single glance. That mixture of laughter and melancholy defines A Mighty Wind and, in many ways, echoes Streep's own philosophy. Comedy works best when it hides a lump in the throat. For Streep, that perseverance is everything. She said that actors must protect the spark that drew them to the craft, even when the spotlight dims. A Mighty Wind is about that spark, the sheer joy of expression and the community it builds. It's why she calls it not just funny, but beautiful. Which of the film's three acts, the folksmen, the new Main Street singers, or Mitch and Mickey, did you connect with most? And do you think sincerity still has a place in comedy today, or has irony taken over? Number 3, Best in Show, 2000.
Broke loose like a cannon. We were given the key to the city from the mayor.
With a picture in the newspaper.
Picture in the newspaper.
If A Mighty Wind showed Meryl Streep the quiet dignity of performers who never give up, Best in Show reminded her that comedy can reveal just as much truth as tragedy. It's another Christopher Guest creation she can't stop quoting. As she told the Academy in a 2023 conversation, anything by Chris Guest, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, Spinal Tap. They're all my favorites. For Streep, Best in Show is a perfect storm of improvisation, empathy, and absurdity.
I'm looking for a toy. A toy. It's a bumblebee. It's like a.
For what kind of?
Proof that even a mockumentary about dog shows can capture the human condition. Released in 2000, Best in Show follows a colorful cast of dog owners competing at the prestigious Mayflower Kennel Club dog show. The film introduces us to middle-class couple Jerry and Cookie Fleck, whose Norwich Terrier Winky is their pride and joy. Neurotic yuppies Meg and Hamilton Swan, who treat their Weimaraner Beatrice like a traumatized child. Flamboyant partners Scott Donlin and Stefan Vanderhoof, the most stylish Shih Tzu owners you'll ever meet. Southern good old boy Harlan Pepper and his loyal bloodhound Hubert, and trophy wife Sherry Ann Cabot with her perfectionist dog trainer Christy Cummings, whose pampered poodle Rhapsody in White may or may not reflect their own tangled relationship. The mockumentary culminates at the Mayflower competition itself, where chaos reigns under the commentary of clueless broadcaster Buck Laughlin, Fred Willard, in one of the funniest improv performances ever captured on film. He delivers lines like, "How much can a dog bench press?" and "I'd hate to be judged by my looks," turning the elite dog show into a circus of vanity, projection, and unintentional self-parody.
And it was in high school, sophomore year.
Streep has said she loves how Guest's comedies are improvised from deep character work rather than punchlines. Every performer knows exactly who they are, their insecurities, their ambitions, their delusions, and plays them with sincerity. That's the key for her, comedy without cruelty. Best in Show invites us to laugh, but it never sneers. These people might be ridiculous, but they're also heartbreakingly human. Actors have to love the people they play, Streep once told Vogue, and Guest's troupe embodies that philosophy. She also appreciates the film's theatrical rhythm. It feels like a live ensemble piece, where timing and chemistry matter more than plot. Watching Catherine O'Hara's upbeat chaos bounce off Eugene Levy's bumbling sweetness, or seeing Jennifer Coolidge's deadpan confidence melt under Jane Lynch's sharp focus, is a masterclass in ensemble performance. Something Streep herself excels at in films like The Devil Wears Prada and August, Osage County. The film ends on a perfect note. Months after the competition, each owner has moved on, reinventing themselves yet again. Some recording albums for dogs, others writing books about canine self-esteem. It's delusional, yes, but it's also hopeful. And that, to Streep, is the essence of acting, believing against all odds that what you do matters. Which Best in Show character reminded you of someone you know, or maybe even of yourself? And do you think there's a fine line between passion and obsession in art or competition? Number 2, Waiting for Guffman, 1996.
Keeping our fingers crossed, but I don't know if the theater and the stage is for me. I mean, for one thing, there's an awful lot of memorizing.
When Meryl Streep talks about comedy, her eyes light up. She's known for her mastery of drama, but she has often said that great comedy requires even more precision and truth. Among her favorite films, Waiting for Guffman holds a special place. The one she calls her go-to when she needs to laugh, reset, or feel connected to the joy of acting. As she told the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, film fans have probably seen it, but to regular audiences, anything by Chris Guest. So my favorite movie is Waiting for Guffman, or Best in Show, or A Mighty Win, or Spinal Tap. Released in 1996, Waiting for Guffman is Christopher Guest's affectionate satire of small-town theater and misplaced optimism. Shot in mockumentary style, it follows the eccentric residents of Blaine, Missouri, as they prepare for a musical celebrating their town's 151st anniversary. The self-appointed auteur of this ambitious production is Corky St. Clair, a flamboyant, wildly insecure theater director who claims to have Broadway connections. Played by Guest himself, Corky is the beating heart of the film, a dreamer who truly believes his community production might make it to New York. For Streep, who began her career on stage, the film resonates on multiple levels. She understands the intoxicating blend of delusion and devotion that fuels small-town performers. Actors live on hope, she once said.
I remember reading a book when I was a child about Corky and the sperm whale. And it was about a little boy named Corky, and he jumped.
And that's exactly what defines Blaine's amateur troupe. There's married couple Ron and Sheila Albertson, travel agents who treat acting as an extension of therapy, cheerful fast food worker Libby Mae Brown who dreams of stardom, insecure dentist Dr. Alan Pearl, desperate to be seen as interesting, and auto mechanic Johnny Savage, who joins mostly because his dad wants him out of trouble. Together, they rehearse Corky's musical, Red, White, and Blaine, a hilariously awkward celebration of the town's rich history.
Because you just know that everybody you know is going to go to the movies and see you.
But did you go through
do terrible stuff?
Featuring numbers like Stool Boom and Nothing Ever Happens in Blaine. What makes Waiting for Guffman so timeless and so beloved by Streep is its generosity. Guest never mocks these characters. He lets them embarrass themselves, yes, but also lets them shine. The film's humor comes from earnestness colliding with ambition, and yet, by the time opening night arrives, you're rooting for everyone. Even when Corky storms out over budget cuts, even when the mysterious Broadway producer Mort Guffman never shows up, his ticket is taken by a random stranger, the cast gives everything they have. Their joy is contagious. For Streep, that's the soul of performance, commitment without irony. She's praised Guest's troupe for building their comedy out of deep empathy and improvisational freedom. In interviews, she's described acting as leaping into the dark and hoping there's a floor there. Waiting for Guffman embodies that leap. Every line feels spontaneous, every failure endearing, every dream just believable enough to make you ache. Have you ever been part of a small production or creative project that felt bigger than life, even if no one else cared? What keeps your creative spark alive when the world isn't watching? Number 1, Dog Day Afternoon, 1975.
Incoming calls. Can I have a line? I want to talk to my wife. I want to talk to my kids.
He wants an outside line. Is it all right?
Hey, I want a line.
Yeah, Sonny, I'm getting it.
When Meryl Streep lists Dog Day Afternoon as one of my favorite movies in the world, she isn't just praising its craft. She's paying tribute to love, loss, and authenticity. For her, this isn't simply a masterpiece of 1970s cinema. It's a deeply personal film, bound forever to the memory of John Cazale, her partner until his death in 1978. Cazale played Sal, the quiet, nervous accomplice to Al Pacino's desperate bank robber. Streep has said that watching Dog Day Afternoon feels like seeing both the brilliance of American filmmaking and the soul of someone she loved most. Directed by Sidney Lumet, the film captures a single blistering afternoon in Brooklyn in 1972. Sonny Wartzik, Al Pacino, and his friend Sal John Cazale attempt to rob a bank to fund gender-affirming surgery for Sonny's partner, Leon. Written by Frank Pearson and inspired by real events. The heist immediately spirals out of control. The money has already been picked up, hostages panic, and within minutes, the police, FBI, and news crews swarm outside. For the next 12 hours, the bank becomes a crucible of pressure, fear, and humanity. Streep admires how Dog Day Afternoon redefined what real acting looked like. Lumet encouraged improvisation. Pacino's Attica chant, which became iconic, was invented on set. She said the film feels alive in every frame, as if the characters are discovering their emotions moment to moment. In an era of stylized crime movies, Lumet's verite style, handheld cameras, natural light, real New York streets, made the drama feel documentary raw. For Streep, who later worked with Lumet on Before and After, that approach was a revelation. He trusted actors. He built truth instead of manufacturing it. And then there's Cazale. His performance as Sal is almost invisible in its quiet power. He rarely speaks, yet every glance conveys terror and loyalty. Streep once described Cazale as an actor who brought honesty to everything he touched. And nowhere is that clearer than here. Even as chaos erupts around him, Cazale makes Sal sympathetic, a man trapped by circumstance, clinging to his friend's doomed dream. When the final scene unfolds, the fake surrender, the sudden gunshot, the sirens. The silence that follows feels like grief itself. Dog Day Afternoon also moved Streep for its compassion toward outsiders. At a time when queer characters were often treated as caricatures, Lumet and Pacino made Leon's story tender and tragic, not sensationalized. Streep has long championed films that give dignity to people on the margins, and she's pointed to Dog Day Afternoon as a turning point. Proof that mainstream cinema could be both political and deeply human. Its mix of chaos, humor, and heartbreak embodies what she calls truth through contradiction, laughing and crying in the same breath. Nearly 50 years later, the film still feels alive. A hot, claustrophobic masterpiece about love, desperation, and the crumbling of the American dream. For Streep, it isn't nostalgia, it's inspiration. Dog Day Afternoon reminds her why she became an actor in the first place. To explore vulnerability, to seek understanding, to feel something honest and unfiltered. When you watch Dog Day Afternoon, do you see it as a crime thriller, a love story, or a tragedy of ideals? How do Pacino and Cazale's performances shape your empathy for these flawed, desperate men? Looking over Meryl Streep's list, one thing becomes clear. Her taste in movies mirrors the breadth of her own artistry. These 6 films span genres, cultures, and moods, yet they all share one trait: authenticity. Each tells a story rooted in truth, no matter how absurd, chaotic, or heartbreaking. Dog Day Afternoon showed her the raw power of realism. Actors stripped of pretense, emotions exposed. Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show reminded her that comedy, when played with sincerity, can reveal the same depth as tragedy. A Mighty Wind and This Is Spinal Tap celebrated the fragile egos and relentless optimism of performers, something every artist understands. And Taxi Driver reminded her that a single performance, one actor's total commitment, can reshape the entire language of film. At 76, Meryl Streep's love of cinema hasn't dimmed. It's deepened. She doesn't watch films as an industry icon, but as a student. Curious, observant, and grateful for the craft that shaped her life. Her choices tell us that great movies don't just entertain, they challenge, console, and remind us why storytelling matters.